You know, heartbreak, it's one of those feelings that's so universal, right? But somehow it can make you feel completely and utterly alone. Today, we're going to dive into that silent journey of loss based on a script that just perfectly captures what it's like on the inside when a love ends. So let's get into it. And it all kicks off with this one simple, devastating line. I love them so much, but today we are apart. Wow, that just hits you right in the gut, doesn't it? It needs zero explanation. With just those few words, we are right there in that awful moment when a whole life you built with someone suddenly becomes a memory you have to carry all by yourself.
All right, so where does this whole journey even start? Well, it begins with that initial shock, that raw wound of it all. We're calling this first stage shattered dreams.
Just picture this, a close-up on a face, eyes red, filled with tears. This isn't about big, loud, dramatic scenes. Nah, it's about that quiet, internal implosion you feel when reality just hits. It's over. The world outside is still spinning, but for you in that moment, everything has just stopped cold. And, in this day and age, our phones make this so much more complicated, don't they? Think about it. You're scrolling through old photos, rereading old chats, all these digital footprints that used to bring you so much joy. Suddenly, they're just painful little daggers, reminding you of everything you've lost. Every saved picture becomes a ghost. And that's really the heart of this first stage, right? It's not just about missing a person, it's about mourning an entire future that's never going to happen. The real, deep pain is in having to let go of all those dreams you built together, which are now just shattered pieces. Okay, so let's see how this builds into our second section. Unspoken agony. This is where that private, internal pain crashes headfirst into the public world, and the performance begins. So, why? Why is all this agony kept a secret? Well, it often boils down to one single thought. If I tell anyone, they just won't get it. I'll just be embarrassed. That fear of being judged forces all that grief underground. It's this powerful, isolating belief that your pain is yours and yours alone. And this is the real conflict, isn't it? On the inside, there is silent tears, this deep, crushing sadness. But on the outside, for the rest of the world, it's a forced smile, a cheerful voice, and that phrase we all know, I'm fine. It is an absolutely exhausting performance. And you see this whole performance play out so perfectly in this one little exchange. The character's mom calls out, her voice just full of concern. Have you eaten? What's wrong? And the reply comes back totally coated in this fake cheerfulness. Nothing, Mom. I'm fine. It's such a small moment, but man, it reveals a massive emotional canyon. So, all this pretending to be fine, it leads us straight into our third section, a lonely battle, where the consequence of hiding all this grief becomes this really profound isolation. And this is the question that just echoes in that silence. Who can understand me? I mean, when you've worked so hard to convince everyone you're okay, you're left completely alone with your pain. It's like a self-imposed exile born out of this fear of being a burden or being misunderstood. This question is not even looking for an answer. It's just a statement of absolute loneliness. You can almost map out the whole thing, step by step. First, you feel the pain. Then, you make a very conscious choice to hide it. You start that performance, acting fine for everyone else. And the final, inevitable result? You find yourself completely and totally isolated. It's an active process, and it's incredibly painful. And there's this really powerful visual that captures this perfectly. Someone just sitting alone, crying silently, while their family is literally in the next room, just living their lives. It's the perfect reminder that emotional isolation has nothing to do with being physically alone. You can be in a crowded room and still feel like you're the only person on the planet. And it's from this place of really deep personal pain that you start to zoom out a little. In our final section, we're going to see how heartbreak can really force us to ask some of life's biggest questions. And that's when the really big questions start to creep in. Usually when it's quiet. Is love even real? When something that felt so true, so solid, causes this much pain, it's pretty natural to question, well, everything. And then comes that other one. Am I the only one suffering like this? It's a question born directly from the isolating power of grief. But the thing is, the answer to that second question is a huge, resounding no. While the pain feels so intensely personal, these questions are universal.
This is where the story stops being about one person's heartbreak and starts touching on a fundamental part of being human. Anyone who has ever loved and lost has probably found themselves asking these exact same questions in the dark.
And that brings us to this final thought. We've been looking at one story, but its true message is a reminder for all of us. The people around you, the ones who seem fine, who always say they're okay, they might be fighting a really lonely battle. Behind every unspoken wound, there's a deep, complex story. And maybe the most important question isn't, is love real? But how can we make it a little bit safer for each other to be real?